Okay, we're going live today, and it looks like it's only me. Our good friend Misty Cordes is on vacation. It's December 9th, my sister's birthday. And we're going to be going over virtual events today. And this is really for anyone that is doing Zoom events or webinars or anything to that effect. And I'm going to pretty much just do a brain dump. Now, I work with a lot of people. Some of the things just to get it right, because what I'm doing right now is a live event and I'm streaming live. First of all, you got to have a good microphone. And I'll tell you, I had a breakdown the other day. My whole office, I'm on a desktop computer, which means it's a big box, right? And so I have all this equipment hooked up to it, multiple webcams, multiple lights. I have this microphone right here. And for some reason, everything just turned off. Now it's on a battery backup. So if the power to my house goes off, the computer still stays on, but the battery pack did a wonky thing and it changed everything. It changed my mic, it changed my video. I'm still suffering the repercussions of everything that happened. So hopefully my mic's working right now, right? So this is a breakdown that you might have with a virtual event is the microphone not working. And the sad part is if there's no one on the other end to tell you they can't hear you, then you're pretty much talking into what, the stratosphere or the atmosphere, or just to nothing, the ether's web, right? So you want to make sure that you have a good microphone and also a backup. So I have this microphone right here. Hopefully you guys can hear me. And then I could change it. Being we're using Restream, it's going to be difficult. It'll take away my video. But I have two other webcams. So I could speak to the webcam in front of me or to the other webcam. So I always have these backup microphones. I have backup webcams. So if one fails, I can always go to the other one. Okay, so that's one thing about virtual events. You also want to be on high-speed internet. A lot of coaches that I know now, there's this big fight. I saw these two kittens fighting the other day. Have you ever seen kittens fight? It's really cute. They're pawing at each other and everything. That's a lot like how the Tyson and Paul fight went down. But I'm just saying, a lot of my friends complained that the stream wasn't very good and that it kept buffering and they kept getting a spinning circle, and they complain. And I asked them, are you hardwired to the internet? And they go, what do you mean? I go, were you on a wireless network? Okay, well, if you're going to be doing these virtual events, be hardwired on the internet. And I'm not even close to joking. I've so many times I have people come on. One of my favorite coaches, I won't say his name, but he did this event and he would call people to the front of the room and he'd go, okay, the ice chucker in Alaska in the middle of nowhere, come up to the front of the Zoom and let's hear what you have to say. The guy had crappy connection, right? So be hardwired. And speaking of the guy in Alaska that's on the icy road trucker, talking in his truck, right? Truck shaking around. When you have guests, make sure that they're hardwired, or at least they have good tech. They have good microphones. They have good cameras. I have had guest speakers on my podcast when I'm going on 50,000 downloads. Not a lot, but not a little, right? And the thing is that when you have a guest on, you got to vet them. And I also need to tell them, look, you need to treat this like you're on Oprah or you're on Jerry Springer or whatever. I don't know. I don't watch TV. Okay. It's been since the 80s. But sometimes guests come on, and I've had guests even on this live stream. They're walking around the mall with their phone. I had one guy in a podcast in the middle of the podcast say, hold on a second, Sean. I need to buy these shirts. He was at Nordstrom. I'm like, really, dude? Is that they don't get it in their head if they're not used to doing podcasts or they're not being live or especially live streaming. So again, the tech is very important. Have a good microphone. Have a good webcam. Have a stable background. You could blur it in the back if you want. This builds a lot of value for me, so I always leave it here. And so those are some of the things that you're going to want to do. Now, another thing, if you're newer, and we're going to be talking about Zoom. So there used to be, the big deal was GoToWebinar and GoToMeeting, and that was the big thing. And then Zoom came out, and I just want people to know, this is why a lot of people know the word Zoom, and a lot of people don't know the word GoToMeeting or GTM, right? Or GoToWebinar. Is GoToMeeting would charge you $20 a month if you wanted to record. Okay. Now, Zoom let you have recording for free, 1080p for up to 40 minutes. They still do this. They let you record, and then you could download the recording. And once I found that out, and this is a long time ago, like almost 10 years ago, I started telling everyone about Zoom. This is before the pandemic and all that stuff. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about Zoom, but I don't know how many coaches I work with, and they're saying, yeah, and I'm a coach and I help this and that and the other. And I'll go, okay, share your screen. Okay, how do you share your screen? I'm like, this is one of the very first things you should learn when it comes to virtual events is having a good mic. First of all, people care what you say. They don't care what you look like. When you're sharing your screen, they're not looking at you. They're looking at your screen. But you can always sound good. I'll give you an example. If I put my mic over here, and this is an expensive mic, okay? But if I bring the mic down to me, and matter of fact, I don't know why I'm way over here, okay? But if you bring the mic to your mouth, you sound a lot better. The other thing is learning how to share your screen, learning the little things in Zoom that are important, especially how to share your screen and how to share the screen appropriately. If you have multiple screens like myself, you need to learn which screen to share. And a lot of people, and these are even people that I work with that are coaches that I've partnered with, okay, you know what they'll do? They'll share, okay, well, I'm just going to share this part. I share my entire screen. That way, no matter what I'm sharing, I might be sharing a PowerPoint, a PDF, an Excel spreadsheet, or I might just be sharing a Word document or something that I wrote, or a website or a calendar. No matter what I'm sharing, I don't have to turn it off and turn it back on and turn it off and turn it back on. There's someone, and it would drive me batty. There's someone that I would work with, and they always, always, always would share just this section of the share, because what the Zoom share does is it says, hey, you can share just the PDF or just the Excel. It gives you like these little snippets. And this particular person would never share the entire screen. And I would say, just share your entire screen. And for some reason, they wouldn't. Now, that brings up a very interesting thing. And I'm going to say it right now. If you have stuff that's inappropriate on your computer and you don't want other people to see it, and what I mean by inappropriate is like maybe your bank statements or combinations to your safe or something like that, just get 2 computers. Keep all that information on an iPad. You can buy a Kindle Fire for under $100 and use that to access your bank and all that other stuff. But if you're running a business and you're not going to be able to share your screen and you want to do live virtual events, you're going to fail at an epic level. And it drives people batty. Okay, the third thing, or not the third thing, but the next thing that I think is important is know the little buttons. Know how to turn off and on your camera. Know how to turn off and on, mute yourself when you need to mute. You might need to sneeze or something, or take a drink of water, which I always have to do. And then you want to be able to mute your microphone. If you don't know how to do that, you should learn this before you start going on stages, or before you start talking on podcasts, or going on other people's Zoom meetings, because it's just frustrating when someone says share your screen, you don't know how to do it, or someone says, hey, you need to mute yourself, and you don't know. And I don't know why. And most people, I think, that unmute, they're on their phones. Okay. If you're going to be a professional, get a professional setup. It's not that expensive. You can go on Facebook Marketplace and you can find a microphone. I have one right here. Right? Here's another microphone. I have a whole other podcast setup right here. It's my backup. It's a laptop, it's a microphone, and then it's a screen. Okay, it's a little bit more set up. It's a little bit more elaborate than what other people need, but just have some other way as a backup. So if your computer crashes, or if something goes wrong, if some hardware breaks or something goes weird, then you can go into the other one. I also use this to where I could log in remotely to the I could log in remotely right now and test this, but I really don't have time to do that. Also make sure your hat is not crooked. Okay, the other thing that I find a lot of coaches doing that is very frustrating when it comes to virtual events is they're not prepared. Right now, I'm doing a flow of consciousness. So I'm really not prepared for this, but I've been doing this long enough where I bring the value. I know, like, I'm going to talk generally about this and I'm going to provide a lot of value because I've been doing this a long time. But not everybody does it. I know some people, and I have people that you could actually put my whole house in this guy's garage, right? And this dude would have to write out what he was going to say from the stage. And then I'd go, okay, we're going to do a podcast. And he'd literally be reading. He didn't have what it took to just do a flow of consciousness. Okay. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I am going to say that people want to hear what you have to say and they want to hear it now and they want to be authentic and real. Okay. So if you are in a space where you just don't have what it takes to talk from the stage, hire someone, get someone like me. You know how many times I'm pushed on stage and I've had other entrepreneurs go, Sean, will you go out there and say this for me? Hey, Sean, go out here and do this. Hey, Sean, I literally want, when I go on stage, I want someone to push me out there because it's like, I feel like this all the time. And if you're an entrepreneur that has the same skills and talent that I do, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying that know what you're going to be talking about. Okay. The other thing is that when you start discussing what you're saying, don't bring up a PowerPoint and read the PowerPoint to people. So you can be all prepared, know how to share your screen, pull up a PowerPoint. It's beautiful and gorgeous. And then you just start reading the bullets. The bullets are not there for you to read to the audience. The audience is going to say, hey, I can read a bullet point. I can read. This is boring. Like the best speakers will just have a picture and they'll discuss the topic of what they're talking about. One of my favorites came from a good friend of mine, and he was the marketing director for Infusionsoft many, many years ago. And he was speaking at a fixed tier funnel event. And I remember this, it cracks me up to no end, even to this day. Okay. And he was going through these PowerPoint slides, and all of a sudden there's a slide that said, "Don't panic." And in the middle of his talk, this slide comes up. It's a word, "Don't panic," in a big red circle with a line through it. I think it had the word panic with a line through it. And then he said, I don't know why I put this slide here, but for whatever you do, don't panic, right? And then everyone laughed, and then he went on to the next slide. So just be able to go off the cuff, and if you forget what you're saying, even say, hey, you know what? I'm sorry, I don't know what this is, and go on to the next thing. Don't sit there and try to remember what you're saying, or profusely ask for forgiveness that you're in the middle of this thing. Just don't worry about it. Just go, hey, I don't know what this is. Keep going. Keep talking. Another thing that I see new coaches doing that I think really is going to be one of their main challenges is that when they're talking, they're consistently thinking about what they're going to say rather than just saying it. Now, the dramatic pause, those are good, right? But don't do them over and over and over and over. Don't repeat yourself. Don't say the same thing over and over and over and over. Now, it's okay to say it twice in a row or even 3 times in a row. One of the master speakers that I admire very much, every time he speaks, he says the same thing 3 times over and over. If he wants to accentuate, is that the word? This particular, if he wants to drill into your brain this certain phrase that he's using, he'll say it 3 times in a row. He does it all the time. He does it in all his videos. He does it from the stage. But what I'm saying is, don't just repeat yourself for 5 minutes because you're going to lose people's attention. Some of the other things are, and I'll give you an example. Like I'm wearing this shirt right now. It's brand new. There's a brand new hat. I try to. I don't. Those people that know me, I don't dress. I'm not a fancy dresser. Okay, I used to be. Used to be really fancy. I'd be. They called me fancy pants. No, they didn't. But anyhow, um, just dress nice. Don't come on a slob. I've seen the people do it, and some people can pull it off if it's a comedy routine. But if you're wearing an old stretched out shirt with a big stain on it, right? You're unshaven and you look like you just got out of bed. I don't know, man. People get their own opinions formed just by seeing you before you even start speaking. I could go on about some band that were big in the 80s that they looked disheveled and they made it. But I'm not talking about rock and roll. I'm talking about having a live virtual event where you're trying to become a bigger fish in a bigger pond, which we're all about here over at Coach Marketing Mastery. Okay, a few other things, and I'm going to wrap it up. Is with Zoom, when you're in Zoom, there's certain things in there that you're going to want to know on the back end that you have set up before you launch it. Okay. Some of those things are going to be is it going to ding where other people come in? That dinging can be really irritating at times. And especially if you get a lot of people. Now, some people use that as an authority, like, watch how many dings come on. Bing, 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 bing. Like when we were doing before Zoom, we were doing Free Conference Pro. And that was kind of like an authority thing, showing people that we're dialing in how much you had. But now it's just kind of an irritation. Another thing is going to be recording, setting this to record. Now I'm live streaming this, so I don't have to set this up. I'm not using Zoom, but in Zoom, you can either record to your local drive or you can record to the cloud. Now, let me tell you a few things about that. One of the things for me is when I record to my local drive, I get a better audio. It just sounds a lot better because it's not going up into the cloud and going through all this nonsense. And then I got to download it. Now, there's good news and bad news to that. If I record to my local computer and it's not going to download from Zoom until I end the meeting. Okay. And it won't start generating the recording in the cloud until you end the meeting. Now, the deal is, if your meeting is an hour or 2 hours long and you're recording to the local machine, it's going to take a long time for it to download after you end the meeting. And if you completely forget that you did that and you shut your computer down, you just lost all of that content. Okay. Ask me how I know. Another thing is, if you say download to my local machine and it's downloading, and let's say all the power in your house goes off, you just lost all of that content. So for some people, it's going to be best to let it record to the cloud. That way, especially if the content's super important. And then the other thing about uploading to the cloud is you don't got to worry about it. It just automatically uploads there. You shut down the meeting, you go on with your life. Okay. Hold on. Now I'm going to mute because I got to sneeze. Okay. So I know how to mute my computer. So that's one of the benefits. Here's another thing when it comes to recording is that when you're recording, make sure that you start, like, some people like to start recording at the beginning of their show and get the little chit chat at the beginning. But if you're doing a podcast, then you just want to tell the people, hey, I'm going to start recording. 1, 2, 3, go. So that everyone shuts up, and then you do your, hey, welcome to Sean Snow Day Presents or whatever, right? Do your little intro and then invite your guests. There's another thing that I wanted to say about recording up to the cloud is that sometimes you have to pay extra money for extra space, so you can only have so many videos uploaded. And some people just will pay the extra 10, 20, 30, $40 a month to Zoom, and they don't really care. They just have a bunch of recordings up there. Or you could download the recording and then edit it and then upload it to your podcast or up to YouTube or whatever. And that way it's not taking up all your disk space, and it's not taking up all the space in your Zoom, especially if you're a newer coach. Download it out of your space, then remove it, send it to the trash in Zoom. That way you're not spending the extra $10 or $20 a month, right? Because every $10 counts, especially when you pay a lot of monthlies for various softwares, such as what I do. Okay. The other thing is, when it comes to recording, is if you're using free Zoom, and a business partner and I were looking at some USA Info software. It's $8,000 a year. And the salesman, don't ask me why he did this. Zoom is $15 a month. Anyhow, the salesman used a free Zoom account, right? Right at 40 minutes, he's closing us. He's telling us it's $8,000 and we're listening to the close. All of a sudden, boom, 40 minutes, a free Zoom account just turns off. It doesn't give you a warning. It just turns off. And so he and I were like, we were both kicked out of the Zoom. So I call him on the phone and we're both discussing whether we're going to go with this $8,000 a year, software package, and whether it's worth it. And the salesman is calling me, and he's calling him, and we could see him coming in on, call waiting, and neither of us were answering, So just get a paid Zoom account if you're going to do a live event. It's $15. You could either pay a year up front, which I do, or you could pay the monthly if you're just going to do it a couple times. But don't use the free account. I know we do want to do the least amount of investment. So if you're a new coach and you're really not monetized your business yet, go ahead and use the free one. But just remember, it kicks you off at 40 minutes. It's no mercy. Okay. There's some other things that you want to learn. Now, one of the coolest things that you could do in Zoom, even in the free account, is you could set it up for registration only. You know what that means? You can capture emails. So you could put out this little form. You just got to Google it, go to YouTube, watch a video how to do it, to how to make a Zoom account registration. And you'll capture people's emails, and it will go in your Zoom account. And then now you have their emails, and now they got to put in their email. They'll be able to they'll get a link in order to come to your Zoom account, but you'll have their email. And that's really going to be important for you to grow your business as a coach, because now you have a list. You can email them later on and say, hey, this is what's going on. So you could start posting that link in LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter, MySpace, wherever, TikTok. You can post that link wherever you need to post it for people to click to where you can capture their email and start building your list and become a bigger fish in a bigger ocean. Okay, so those are just a few tips on how to use Zoom and how to become a bigger fish in a bigger ocean. This is Sean. We'll be back next week with Misty Cordes, and we will be going over more stuff on what you need to do as a new or seasoned coach when it comes to events and other ways to build your business. This is Sean Snowday. My name's Sean Snowday. This is Sean Snowday Presents, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great day.